headlines. In tears in the dock, the 82-year-old accused of shooting dead his partner and her daughter and 4 dogs.
Resembling a huge floating tower block, the world's largest cruise ship arrives in Southampton.
Up in flames, the Great Fire of London is recreated in the south for a new ITV drama.
This must be the only pub in the country where they measure half pints in pounds and ounces.
And bringing up baby 1950s style. My, how times have changed. Good evening to you. A pensioner accused of shooting dead a mother and daughter on his puppy farm in Surrey has told a jury he never intended to kill them.
82-year-old John Lowe denies murdering Christine and Lucy Lee at Keeper's Cottage Stud, just off Crooksbury Road in Tilford near Farnham in February.
He broke down as he took the stand at Guildford Crown Court today and said the gun had gone off by accident. This from Kate Bunkle.
Mr. Lowe has been describing to the jury exactly what happened on the day that Christine and Lucy Lee lost their lives at his remote farmhouse in Surrey back in February. Now, this is the first day of his defence case, so the first opportunity he's had to explain to the jury what happened on that day in his own words. Now, it's been an extremely frustrating day at times. This is a man of 82. He's hard of hearing at times. Both the prosecution and the defence have struggled to make him hear and understand their questions. He's also extremely emotional, and several times during his evidence, he's broken down in tears. Now, when he was being questioned by his defence counsel, he said that he intended to load his shotgun on the day in question, February the 23rd, to put down 4 of his dogs. He says there was a tussle. Christine didn't want him to put the dogs down, and in the tussle that ensued, the gun accidentally discharged and killed her. He says he then turned round to see where her daughter Lucy was, and the gun discharged a second time, and then a third accidentally as she lay on the steps. Now, as I say, it's been an extremely emotional day. At one point, the defence barrister asked him, "Did you intend to pull the trigger?" To which Mr. Lowe replied, "No, why would I? I wouldn't have murdered Christine for £10,000. Well, this afternoon there's been fairly heated exchanges with the prosecutor, who again has been asking Mr. Lowe questions about why he would have had a loaded shotgun in the house. And again, Mr. Lowe getting very emotional at times. He denies murdering Christine and Lucy, and the trial is due to continue tomorrow.
Kate Bunkle reporting there. And that story and the rest of the day's news can be found 24 hours a day on our website. On your smartphone or tablet, scan the code on the screen now to be taken there, or on your computer, just search for ITV Meridian.
In other news, 2 people arrested in Portsmouth on suspicion of terror offences have been released on bail. 2 other men and 2 women detained yesterday are still being questioned. Police say the investigation is linked to the conflict in Syria.
A £5,000 reward is being offered for information on an arson attack at the home of an 83-year-old woman in Hampshire. Elizabeth Sanger-Davis was pulled to safety from an upstairs window by 2 police officers as flames engulfed her house in Romsey in February last year.
Firearm owners in Dorset are being warned to make sure their guns are being stored securely. Police will be carrying out unannounced home visits where there are concerns about security and risk. Over the past 5 years, nearly 3,300 shotguns have been reported lost or stolen in England and Wales.
A protest is due to be held tonight outside a supermarket in Brighton, where a gay couple were told to either stop kissing or leave. Annabelle Page says a customer complained to a security guard at the New England Street branch of Sainsbury's when she gave her girlfriend a light kiss on the cheek. The company has apologised and offered a £100 donation to charity.
The world's largest cruise ship, Oasis of the Seas, made its first ever call into a UK port in Southampton this morning. The liner, which is as long as the Shard building in London, has an outdoor park on board. There are more than 20,000 plants and trees and 20 pools.
Now, it's the country's most common inherited life-shortening disease. Cystic fibrosis affects the lungs, causing constant infections and makes breathing difficult.
Well, Debbie Packer from Hampshire is one of more than 100,000 people here in the UK with the condition, but it's never stopped her following her dream to be a musician. And now she is inspiring others to learn to play. Amanda Piper has a quite inspiring story.
From the stage and even from the audience, Debbie Packer's talent is all too evident. A member of Chord Electra, an electric string trio, she has performed at events here in the UK and across the world. But at home, it's not just her cello which takes up her time, but ongoing treatment for cystic fibrosis.
I'm battling the effects all the time. I have to do lots of treatment to keep me as well as possible. Including nebulizers, physiotherapy, lots of medication, injections. So lots throughout the day. I would say easily would take me anything between 3 and 5 hours.
Debbie regularly has to spend weeks in hospital to treat any infections. Cystic fibrosis is the UK's most common inherited life-shortening disease. It affects the lungs, making breathing difficult, causing constant infections. But it doesn't stop her trying to inspire others to learn to play.
I have the biggest respect for Debbie because I know how hard it is for me to fit everything in. But for Debbie, doing all of the extra work she has to do to keep herself that fit and healthy, I really admire that.
People don't know, but by looking at her, that she's ill. It's not until, she tells you what's wrong. But it's really nice to see how music inspires her to be able to, she still manages to fit it into her daily regime as well.
At Whiteley Primary School, pupils not only enjoy a performance, but also a one-to-one workshop.
Listening to Chord Electra, you can have a goal to try and beat. I felt left out because everyone else was playing an instrument, so I decided to play an instrument this year.
It looked like I could do anything and be a superstar.
It's really inspiring for the children and also helps children who haven't come across those conditions before understand more about it and see that it's not a huge barrier to living a normal life.
For Debbie, she wants to show anyone can play music and that it can even help overcome your own personal battles.
I think when you've got a condition like cystic fibrosis, you need to have really good sense of purpose to get up in the morning and do those treatments. Because it is really tempting, I'll be honest, just to stay in bed and, because I do lack a lot of energy.
She's now organising a charity ball to raise money and awareness of the condition. Just another string to her already accomplished bow. Amanda Piper, ITV News.
Good luck to Debbie, and well done to her. Now you're watching ITV News here in the Meridian region. Thank you, as always, for choosing us. We do appreciate it. Coming up,
An ode to Kath, how a widower's moving poem in memory of his wife of 65 years has touched the hearts of thousands.
Well, for more on all of our stories, do head to itv.com/news/Meridian. Any views or news, call us please. 0808 1010 095 is the number, or get in touch via Facebook, or why not send us a tweet at ITV Meridian.
And the ITV News continues with the national and international news at 6:30. With more now, here's Alistair Stewart.
A junior welfare minister is under pressure for suggesting the disabled might not be worth the minimum wage. Lord Freud apologises and says he was only repeating what a questioner put to him. Labour say he should go. A second health worker tests positive for Ebola in America, despite the best medical precautions, raising further fears here. And the low-flying flag at an international that caused a punch-up and prompted a rumpus in the world of politics. The details with Mary Nightingale and me at 6:30.
A 40-year dream came a step closer today for volunteers on the Swanage Railway in Dorset. Ever since the branch line was closed in the 1970s, they've wanted to try and reconnect it to the main line and run passenger services once again.
Well, today, a barrier on the line between Norden and Wargret Junction was removed, a new rail laid to complete the historic link-up, with the hope that scheduled passenger trains will run along it again next year. With all the details now, here's Martin Dowse.
This section of points on the track at Matala was what kept the Swanage Railway line and the Network Rail line apart. Today they were removed and new rail laid to make this one continuous stretch, with nothing standing between the former branch line, which has been run as a tourist attraction since 1979, and the main network. For people like Tony Udall, looking on from the sidelines, but who'd been a volunteer worker here for 32 years, this was something they never thought they'd see.
I think it's just meant that everything's been worthwhile. I think we all felt that we were a bit over-enthusiastic on getting rid of railways in the early days, and people are beginning to realise that railways have got a viable future. And yeah, it's nice to see it going back.
Swanage was a busy branch line from the golden age of Victorian steam through to the 1960s, but fell victim to British rail closures, and in 1972 the track was ripped up from Swanage to Matala in just 7 weeks. Metre by metre over the decades, the volunteers have relaid the track, putting right what they saw as a disastrous mistake.
There's a huge amount of effort that's gone into reaching this point today by the volunteers over the last 40 or so years. So it's a fantastic achievement that we've got to this point. There's a long way to go, so we're slowly chipping away at the iceberg. But yes, it was a travesty that the line was closed in 1972, and it's taken all this time to get it back open. But we're absolutely determined to reintroduce the community service back to Purbeck.
With the barriers removed today, they took us up the line, almost to the point where it will join the main line at Wareham. When they run the first passenger service along this newly open stretch of line, probably towards the end of next year, the Swanage Railway will make history by becoming the first volunteer-run railway ever to put scheduled services over electrified Network Rail line. Martin Dowse, ITV News on the Swanage Railway.
From trains to caravans now, and they may divide opinion as to whether they are cool, but caravans and campervans are big business. There's 120,000 caravan club members here in the south, and the industry is worth £6 billion to the British economy every year.
Well, this week, leaders in the field are gathering at the Motorhome and Caravan Show to unveil their very latest designs and a more high-tech future. David Wood has been along to have a look around.
For some, a holiday means relaxing by the beach, jetting off somewhere tropical, or for increasing numbers, touring campsites across the country. And even though caravans can be guilty of clogging up our roads during the summer months, the industry is booming. It's growing faster than the UK economy. And perhaps surprisingly, someone once used to the fast lane is now a fan of the slower pace of life.
Being able to go places, pull on the side of the road, pull off somewhere nice on the side of a lake, go to different campsites, and I'm basically touring our great country here and just having a bit of home with you.
As the industry gathers together to launch its new designs, one prototype offers a glimpse into the future.
You can switch off or turn off the light just with one button.
All controlled by a tablet computer, this design, not yet in production, is worth almost £1 million.
I think it is necessary to show people already today what's already possible today, because the image of camping is a bit old-fashioned, a bit outstanding, and we wanted to do something completely different to show people that camping or caravanning can also be quite cool.
Also on show is the first electric campervan, and one with a completely chrome finish. But no matter how high-tech they are, they still won't be the quickest vehicles on the road. But with 1 in 5 nights away in the UK spent in one of them, they're becoming big business.
I actually think our industry is the best kept secret. One of the things we don't do as well as I think we can do is come together as an industry and really promote what we do. Caravanning is very popular because it offers freedom and flexibility. It supports an active outdoor lifestyle, and it's a very stress-free holiday.
Whether you're a fan of them or not, with more than 1 million sold in the UK every year, they'll still be a common sight on our roads for a long time yet. David Wood, ITV News.
Now, the plight of the local pub is never far from the headlines, with hundreds here in the south closing every year. But the sad truth is we don't use them in the way we used to in the days before television and digital technology.
Well, as historic newsreels show, the pub really was the centre of community life. Rachel Hepworth's been looking at a bygone way of life in the Pathé archives.
It's a new game with a difference, so let battle commence.
They didn't have Downton and X Factor in 1950, so they had to make their own entertainment.
All you need is one egg empty, billiard table ditto, and a sound pair of lungs full. It's 10 minutes each way with a 5-minute interval, and they really get their teeth into it.
Strangely, egg football never really took off, but in Oxfordshire they also needed plenty of puff.
The Chequers Inn in the little village with the big name Churchill held England's only competition for blowing coaching and hunting horns, an annual event. It's good hunting country hereabouts, and time was when the Chequers heard coaching horns every day. How good to know that there are still men who can blow one.
And back then there were artists like Michael Farabelle from Haddenham, whose work helped to give each pub its individual identity.
To hang at Church, Surrey, his Pride of the Valley signs depicts David Lloyd George in a dramatic pose. Done in oils, the signs are left to dry and then dusted by daughter Charlotte before being varnished over to protect them from the weather.
Although he wasn't responsible for this one.
Most of us have seen some queer inn signs in our time, but how's this for intriguing the passer-by? The location is the village of Vernham Dean in Hampshire, and the sign is more than just a sign, it's a symbol. For wherever you look are boots, boots, and even more boots. Other novelties include this glass drinking boot from Munich in Germany. We said drinking glass, but in fact, as you'll see, drinking from it is quite a feat. Whoops. The local.
But in some pubs they like to start them early.
For it seems at first glance that babies from the village of Great Tew in Oxfordshire, poor things, are brought up on the bottle in both senses of the word. However, before you dash out and write to the Times, let's explain there's nothing sinister about the refreshments they get here.
Of course not, it's just a weekly baby clinic, run here in 1958.
This must be the only pub in the country where they measure half pints in pounds and ounces. And this half pint's not too keen on the idea.
In other pubs, every service was catered for.
That man needs a haircut.
This local doubled as the barbers.
Give the roots of your hair a drink of beer, and they say it grows all wavy. But what a wicked waste.
But at least there are no puns about the hair of the dog.
It's a proper clip joint.
Rachel Hepworth for ITV News.
Maybe I should do that with my hair.
Why not? You
Or
can
a
give it a go.
It's worth a try.
The way we used to be.
Lovely.
Now, it's one of the most anticipated dramas of the year, and tomorrow night the story of the Great Fire of London will begin here on ITV.
It will, written by ITV News correspondent Tom Bradby. It features a mix of what really happened in 1666, as well as a bit of modern-day political agenda, and of course, a love story.
Divya Kohli got exclusive access to the incredible set in Henley-on-Thames.
Inspired by the events of 1666, one of Britain's greatest historical disasters. The Great Fire is a 4-part epic with a twist, telling the story of the blaze that engulfed 17th century London. The history books tell us it started in Thomas Farriner's bakery on Pudding Lane. He was the King's baker and is played by Broadchurch actor Andrew Buchan.
You learn nursery rhymes at primary school about the Great Fire, but there's nothing nursery rhymish about it. There's nothing cosy or comfortable. It's horrific. It's just terrifying.
I heard you yelling a lot.
I like a good yell. I don't get to do it half as much as I like. So it feels good. Climbing on a cart as well, that's good.
Will the miller give you flour against next week's order?
I doubt it.
As well as this all being quite factual, There's a bit of a love story in all of this.
There is a love story going on, yeah. There's a love
spark.
story. A spark.
Excuse the pun.
Good, like it. Love what you've done there.
Now, I hear you once said that the poor folk who used to toast my health on their knees outside the gates were a little too much.
Jack Houston takes on the role of Charles II, whilst Daniel Mays plays Samuel Pepys, the man who famously kept diaries during the fire. And Game of Thrones star Charles Dance is the mean Lord Denton.
Send word for Mayor Bloodworth, the street's on fire. Hurry, man, if you want to save your premises!
Look at these incredible movie-like sets. We're on set right now with all the extras. That's real fire, by the way, real smoke, no CGI here. This is a representation of 17th century London, but just check out where we are. If you follow me and come just around the corner, you can see we are on an industrial estate in modern-day England.
There's a big logistical problem with the materials that we're using, keeping all the gas going, making sure every window that we're doing is the same height of flame, that we keep the continuity going. And when all these people are running backwards and forwards, it looks chaotic, but we know where they are. We've choreographed that.
So it's all going up today?
Written by the ITV News correspondent Tom Bradby, there are of course references to present-day politics in his screenplay. Talk of austerity and security threats, but embroiled in this, a fictional love story.
Charles II, he's a fascinating character. The fire was a defining moment, or one of the defining moments in his reign. He's obviously a key character. Pepys is a key character. But we wanted a sort of emotional heart of the story, a love story and all the rest of it. And that obviously had to be with the baker. So I'm not saying that the real baker was really in love with his brother's wife, probably not, who knows. But our fictional baker is, and that's obviously the emotional heart of our story.
Do people know you're a screenwriter and writer, as well as political editor of ITV News?
I've been a writer actually as long as I've been a TV reporter.
So how do you do it then? Because as soon as you leave here, you've got to put your news head on again.
Well, there's lots of, women all over the world will tell you about multitasking. It's just that men are not usually seen as being very good at it, and probably rightly, and I'm not very good at it.
4 consecutive hour-long episodes will start on ITV tomorrow night. Divya Kohli, ITV News.
Looks good, and staying with a piece of history, and never before seen images of the Titanic have been uncovered and are starring in a new exhibition.
Well, they show the ship, which of course hit an iceberg on her maiden voyage from Southampton to New York during her launch back in 1911. They were taken by one of the directors of Harland and Wolff, the company that built the liner.
Well, the photos are at the Titanic Museum in Belfast, but the album they're in has to be kept closed in case the pictures are damaged by light. Instead, they've been filmed and feature on a digital display.
Have a wonderful slice of social history as well running through the album. One of the reasons, in many ways, why I think Titanic is such a compelling story is because of the way that the ship is almost a perfect mirror reflection of society on land, with all of the class distinctions, etc. It's almost like Downton Abbey at sea. And this album captures that wonderfully.
Now, they were married for 65 years, so when Bob Lowe's wife died at the age of 88, to help cope with his grief, he decided to put pen to paper and write a poem dedicated to his beloved Kath.
In the years afterwards, Bob, who's from Barton-on-Sea, felt lonely, and when he read an article written by Esther Ranson about life after losing your partner, he became a supporter of the helpline that she founded called The Silver Line. Well, now he's 92. We are delighted to say Bob is with us here in the studio. Welcome, dear sir.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your poem to your beloved Kath has made you a champion for the elderly and an internet sensation. How do you feel about that?
It's a shock. I've got to say, one staggers around, the telephone goes. I've had people come in asking for interviews all the time, the papers and television. And, just for an ordinary guy, that sort of thing comes as a bit of a shock.
You were married to Kath for 65 years. Tell us about her.
She was lovely. We were actually met, we were together for 72 years, but the war separated us. And she was great. She looked after the family. and she was great support. I was a travelling sales bloke, if you like, so I was out a lot of the time, and she kept the family together and brought the children up.
You lost Kath to Alzheimer's 3 years ago, and that was a shattering blow, wasn't it?
You don't know it's coming, you don't want to believe that it's coming. When the medics tell you that that is the road you're going down, then it gets worse and worse, and you try to pretend it's not happening. But there's not enough known about Alzheimer's disease that can make you cope.
She said something to you which shocked you one day, didn't she?
Yeah. We were actually watching television, and she was obviously enjoying it, and she turned to me suddenly and said, "Where's Bob?" So I say, "I'm Bob," and I couldn't believe what she was saying. Suddenly, I was no longer her husband.
But when Kath died, you found yourself in a position which so many people find themselves in, lonely, and now you support a charity called Silverline. How have they helped you?
Well, Silverline is a free phone number, and it was set up by Esther Ranson, and anybody can ring at any time of the day or night, and a lot of the calls come in during the middle of the night. We get 2,000 calls in the middle of the night, and I've rung them, and they're a great help because they're a great gang of people, and they understand the loneliness problem.
Your poem is called Ode to Kath. Would you recite it for us, please?
Yes, surely. I am alone. Now I know it's true. There was a time when we were two, and those are the days when we would chat and do little jobs like this and that. We'd go to the shops, select our meals. But now I'm alone. I know how it feels to have to cook or buy meals on wheels. The rooms are empty, there's not a sound, and I feel quite lost as I wander around to look for jobs that I can do to bring back the days when we were two. But when darkness falls and the curtain's drawn, that's when I feel most forlorn. But I must be honest and tell the truth, because beside me, in her chair, she quietly waits our time to share. Kath said to me, some years ago, "Darling, when the time comes for us to go, can we mix our ashes and be together and cuddle up forever and ever?" Yeah.
Bob Lowe, privileged to meet you, sir.
Thank you so much for coming.
Pleasure.
And just to give you that number again, the Silverline helpline is 0800 470 80 90.
Time for the weather forecast now. Here's Lucy Verasamy.
That's us driving on, us driving off in France, and us on the bridge.
Driving to Europe. Eurotunnel Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather. Hello to you again. A very good evening. Well, I think you have the idea by now. Feeling very mild for us in the coming few days, frost-free in the coming nights. If a little dull and damp, typical autumn weather on the cards for all of us as we roll into the weekend, and it's all due to a deep area of low pressure currently situated out in the Atlantic. It's this that's going to be responsible for the cloud and the rain in the next few days, but with this southwesterly airstream becoming established, we're going to draw in a much milder air all the way in from the Azores, relatively warm air for the time of year. Temperatures will be boosted a few degrees and will be well above what you'd expect in the middle of October. A wet end to the day out there. The rain continues overnight, soaking for most of us at some point or another. The rain on and off into the small hours where it could well turn thundery. Some of us could be woken up before the end of the night. And then into tomorrow, well, what a difference a day makes. Beautifully bright, some lovely spells of sunshine. Feeling quite nice in that sunshine. Highs of maybe 16 or 17 degrees. Just a few showers knocking around a little later. I'll see you again soon. Eurotunnel Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
And in just a moment here on ITV, we have the national and international news with Alistair Stewart and Mary Nightingale.
For now, though, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thanks very much indeed for watching. Take care of yourselves.
See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.